nothing to believe in, leaving all my pressure and mistakes. Wanted better, nothing to remember, so I'm freeing up my brain. Take me flying, bring me the horizon, float above the world that I'll erase. Wipe it clean and feed me dopamine, 'cause I don't wanna feel my face. 'Cause I need love, breathing in the heat of rolling to the beat. I want it in my chest.
'Cause I dance better when I'm high.
Overall, I kind of dig it, but it could be.
Son, what are you watching there?
Well, Dad, it's Larry Arts Productions, home to many types of content, including stop motions, reviews, unboxings, and other types of videos.
I knew getting the internet for my kid was a mistake. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Monday night coverage of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. Tonight is the last race of the round of 8 to see the 4 drivers that will run for a championship next week at Charlotte, but it all consumes here at Atlanta. Hot Atlanta, it's the Legacy course, the 2008 configuration where it's hot, slick, and drivers are searching for any type of way to get around this track fast. And we cannot wait to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Zach Hall. And Zach, the last race, we know one driver that's locked in. That's Trenton Jump after his win last week at Dover. But tonight, so many different questions on who's joining him for the championship hunt.
Lots of questions for sure to be answered here in Atlanta, and what a track to do it, man. I'm so excited. This 08 version of Atlanta is personally one of my favorite as a driver tracks out there, so I can't wait to see what kind of product they put out there. I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit one groove here tonight with these trucks, with it being very, very momentum based. We might not see that outside get to working too well, but I tell you, there's going to be lots of opportunities for these drivers to make tons of mistakes. There's tons of fall off. The tire wear is going to be super critical, and strategy, you're going to have to stay on top of it all night long. As there's going to be some drivers definitely looking to get big nights here to try to push themselves into that Final Four to fight for a championship next week at Charlotte. It's coming down to the wire, man. The only person, like you said, that can't worry is Trenton Jump.
And there are some other drivers in extreme worried some spots as we see the checkered flag out. That means practice is done. Drivers about to head into qualifying, where track position is going to be so key. But here's where the drivers line up for this race. Again, we got 8 drivers left in the playoffs. We started off with 16. We've divvied it down by all of these rounds that we just had to these 8 drivers. Trenton Jump, who's already locked in. Nick Crawford comes in second in points with a 15-point buffer over Christopher Norris, who's in 5th. Third in points is going to be Ollie Fonseca with a 10-point buffer. Ethan Smith has a 5-point buffer over Christopher Norris. Now, Norris, compared to himself to Ethan Smith, 5 points out from trying to get into our Final Four. Then John Forbes, 6 points out from our Final Four. Cody Reed, 8 points out. And in a must-win scenario, because he missed out on last week's race, Mark Whitley in that must-win scenario.
It's going to be fun to watch with Whitley being in a must-win scenario, man. He's the one I think these guys got to circle. If you're one of those guys that you feel like, man, I just need to skirt my way in points, well, you got to hope that 77 doesn't go out there and win, because he's just been in a winning way, it seems like, for really the past 6 to 7 weeks here in this truck series. It just seems like everything is clicked. Of course, he wasn't able to race last week, so that put him in this giant hole where he must win. But I mean, even the past history, the one time we have ran this Atlanta Motor Speedway, this 2008 version of it, he led the most laps in this race. So, you know, he's definitely got the speed here, but we do have to remember he didn't convert the win in that race either. Had some, you know, little hiccups here and there that really took him out of a chance of winning the race, not only, but also winning a championship. So he knows that he's quick here, but he cannot have those same mistakes that have plagued him in the past.
Yeah, that qualifying time for Mark Whitley got started in 3rd. He came away with a 7th place finish. Not good enough for that championship, but drivers are clocking in their first laps. Been seeing the times throughout all the practices. Drivers have noticed that it's the 2nd lap that is the fastest, so let's see where the drivers line up. They're seeing here Mark Morales Jr. trying to get his fastest lap in. 4th fastest on that first lap. The 2nd lap as he comes across the line. Will he be Joshua Kanata, who puts down a burner? Doesn't look to be fast enough for the pole, but fast enough for 3rd, which, I mean, Zach, this 91 has been on a tear these last couple of weeks.
He really has, man. Morales has really turned his season around here in the last few weeks and has just shown a lot more speed than what he had before this. And really he's making a bold shot to maybe make the playoffs next season. I think that'll be a good goal for Morales heading into there. But as you can see, the leaderboard's changing all around. Ethan Smith right now with a 31-38 to put him up top. That's huge because, like you said, Sam, track position is going to mean everything here. Is now Ollie Fonseca takes that top of the board.
And I'm not surprised. The 24 has been fast at all the different times. And if someone's going to beat it, it could be this too. Danny Cochran coming out of turn number 4 on his last lap of qualifying. The 2 machine. At what time and where will he place across the line? We look at the board, and it's only 3rd best for Danny Cochran. Ollie Fonseca looking confident as we look at the rest of the drivers that are out on track. Everyone's done. There's 2 drivers that have not put in time. That's Cody Smith and Joshua Altus. Other drivers are still out on track, just putting some extra laps in for themselves. But Zach, Ollie Fonseca with the pole. What a statement from a driver that's already inside of our top 4, trying to make that Final Four for next week.
And this would be his first time making that Final Four if he's able to get it done. That would be a huge statement because, you know, it's just one of those situations that it just builds confidence that even much more. And headed into Charlotte, I mean, the take out of here, a 1.5 mile race also, you can learn a few little things that transition there, and the speed definitely carries over. So Ollie right now starting off on the right foot and doing exactly what he needs to do to propel himself to fight for a championship in just 1 mere week.
1 week away at Charlotte, another 1.5 miles that we'll see how these drivers can tackle that course. But they first have to handle here at Atlanta. Hot Atlanta, a fast and very aggressive track on tires. As you see, Zachary Peterson already done with his qualifying time. It looks to be 17th for himself as he's getting some more practice on pit entry, pit exit, trying to find those little nuances to find that extra speed. Well, as most of the drivers are done with qualifying, like I said, most of the drivers are out there on track just getting some extra practice in. Gives us time to shout out the sponsors that are here for the ISRC Truck Series. The title sponsor being Race Car Graveyard. Race Car Graveyard's been the title sponsor since season 1. We're in our 4th season, about to crown our 4th champion. And what is Race Car Graveyard? Well, it's a diecast collection's dream. They got plenty of different diecast to collect, from 1/24th ratios to 1/64th ratio NASCAR diecast. They have plenty that are available now to be purchased, new, used, or even custom, that you can go now. Go to @RaceCarGraveyard on Instagram, and remember to use the promo code RCGY for 10% off. As well, for the stage break sponsor, the Laugh Lap. Laugh Lap gets you those daily laughs and memes that you want to get to make sure that your day starts off right. Go to the_laugh_lap to get your daily memes today on Instagram. And our final sponsor, Larry Art Productions. Larry Art, the main sponsor for Danny Cochran, and as well has sponsored plenty of the different races for great laughs as well, for variety videos. And you got to see a preview at the start of our stream. Go check out Larry Art Productions on all socials, but also subscribe to his YouTube channel. Well, qualifying's done. Drivers are starting to get gridded up, and let's see how the Legacy Atlanta 150 is going to give us here as our starting results are going to be popping up. In the pole award, it's going to be the 24 of Ali Fonseca, the driver that's in a must-win scenario, going to be in 2nd place. Danny Cochran going to be in 3rd for the 2 machine. Malik Kuntz, strong qualifying run for 98. He'll be in 4th. Ethan Smith, 5th. Joshua Kanata, 6th. 7th, going to be John Forrest, trying to jump 8th. 9th, Nick Crawford. And 10th is GT Razari. And the drivers in gold, those are your playoff contenders.
That they are gold contenders there for sure. 11th is going to go to Cody Reed in the 25 machine. 12th is going to go to Jesse Thornock. 13th, another playoff contender with Cody Reed, is Christopher Norris. 14th is going to be Martin Morales. 15th will be the 15 of Matt Upbrook. 16th place going to go to Jonathan Smith. 17th place here going to go to Zachary Peterson. 18th in qualifying here is going to be Eric Stamp. 19th is going to be the 19 of Tyler Dingler. And rounding out the top 20 is Joshua Freed.
As these drivers getting themselves prepared. 21st going to be Logan Brakey, Ryan Ferraro in 22nd. 23rd is going to be Justin Smith with Joshua Altus in 24th. And the 7th of Cody Smith going to be finishing out the drivers in 25th position, as our last 2 drivers did not get a time in. Some weird complications, though, popping up as we're about to take off from the grid. Danny Cochran having some internet woes. He has been bounced out of the server. He's trying to get back into the server potentially here, Zach, but he's going to have to start on pit road as he has missed the grid officially now.
That's such a heartbreaker for him because, you know, he's not in here to go fight for a championship. He won that championship last season, didn't make the round of 8, which was the heartbreaker for him. But he still can have a factor where he helps his teammate Ali Fonseca, who's trying to push him his way through to that Final 4, and he could be right there, you know, to be that little bit of a pick, as they would say, to hold back other people from gaining on him. But right now, he's, like you said, going to have to start from pit road, and that is just not what you want to see. And hopefully, he gets back in here before a few laps get gone by.
Absolutely not, as he is still not in the session, but point our eyes to the drivers up front. Ali Fonseca, Mark Whitley, and again, has seen last week's race. He is now in a must-win scenario for the 77. But the 24, Zach Ali Fonseca, a driver that we kept on harping on last season in the playoffs. After he got bounced out, he was one of the fastest drivers and now has the chance to go for a championship.
This is what it's all about, man. You got to get there to the end of the season and have a shot. And that's all Ali can ask for. He's really, propelled all that momentum he built up at the end of last season into this season, and he's really kind of evolved as a driver, and it's super impressive to see. So we'll see how the 24 can make it work, but right now, he's in the best position you could be in, out front of the field, leading them to the green flag.
Well, this is it, your whole entire season. Who will fight for a championship next week? Tonight, it's the Legacy Atlanta 150. You've got ourselves 150 lap stage break at lap 60. No fast repairs, 4 sets of tires in pit road, as we are now green for Ali Fonseca, Mark Whitley, roaring down into turn number 1. The question is, who survives that at corner number 2?
This is going to be fun to watch here because what line works best? Right now, the bottom line really surging forward as Fonseca is able to carry the speed, get clear of that outside line, jump in front of Mark Whitley, but it's Ethan Smith who took advantage of Danny Cochran not being able to start the race. He moves up into the 3rd position and now looks to be inside of Mark Whitley because these first few laps here very much going to be momentum based, so drivers are trying to get as much track position as possible running these trucks fast.
And with Mark Whitley having so many wins this season, he is the biggest threat to watch out for as Ollie Fonseca going to lead that lap. But Mark Whitley diving down low and now going to be taking the lead position, the 77, where nobody in the field wants him to be, leading right now at its route.
That is ominous signs on the field's faces right there because, man, you do not want to see that 77 get out in front of this field and get clean air. That's going to be the most crucial thing. He is now put himself in position to control this race. Fonseca is going to have to fight back here because, again, I think that clean air is just going to be so critical here tonight. Passing is going to be very much limited to how you can get it done. And right now, Fonseca is trying to fight back on that outside groove. And this is going to make it tough on Mark Whitley here on the exit of 2.
Outside lane seems to be where drivers feel the most confident to make passes. Inside lane in the early going, you can really stick it to the inside, but you can see the momentum the 24 had on exit of turn 2, keeping it side by side, dashing into turn 3, and Ollie Fonseca using up these tires. Also update for the 2 of Danny Cochran, he is back out on track 1 lap down as the 24 leads another lap, and bonus points going to be crucial for these drivers. Leading lap, that's 1 bonus point. Leading the most laps, 3 bonus points. And the 24 aiming for that as Mark Whitley moves on high and now under trouble of losing second.
He's very much under trouble, that's for sure. Ethan Smith there was looking to the inside. Luckily, the run off the top side was good enough for that 77 to stabilize there and hold him to the 2nd position. But a little interesting line there through 3 and 4. Everybody running in that middle groove. And you know, like you said, Sam, it's the preferred position, in my opinion, to pass here is get to the outside quarter panel of somebody and get it done. But how long do you want to stay up there is going to be the question. I think the tires can only last so long up in that upper groove where the bottom is going to be much more friendly to him. So right now, Whitley trying to find his way back to clean air, but Fonseca did an excellent job by being the pole setter and fighting back to the lead.
I was hearing a lot from the drivers when I was talking to them throughout the day. There was a lot of different practice sessions where drivers were trying to get as much information, as much practice on how this car is going to react on a long run, as well in front and behind drivers. I was hearing a lot of drivers stating on the fact the first 5 laps, that's your passing zone. After that, it's try to survive, protect your tires for the longer run so you don't get loose out of these corners.
That's going to be the huge key, man. I mean, the fall off here is immense right now as we're actually seeing Trenton jump here, try to get the pass on Kanata back here for around the 6th position as he's trying to go forward in these first opening laps of the race. But the fall off is so immense. It is just continuous fall off when it comes to this Atlanta Motor Speedway. Right now, these drivers, the best time we've seen so far is a 31:37. They're going to be all the way down into the 33-second bracket here by about lap 25 to 30. So it falls off tremendously fast. And another key factor here is that stage at 60. They're not going to be able to get that far on fuel. So the strategy here is going to be very critical for stage points if this first stage goes completely green here.
When do you want to come into pit road with someone trying a whole strategy of saving fuel to go that far on this run? As we're riding on board the 74 of Nick Crawford. Nick Crawford comes into this run 15 points above the cutoff line. The 74 running in 8th place. I mean, this is already a positive run for himself as, again, Mark Whitley in a must-win scenario. Ethan Smith already inside of our front 4, same for Ollie Fonseca. So all the drivers that for Nick needs to be ahead of currently is at this moment.
That he is. That's good for him right now. And, you know, the big thing for him, I think, also is watch this 74 as the run goes on. We've seen throughout kind of the season these abrasive racetracks where there's fall off. He seems to be a driver that always tends to creep his way forward as the run goes on, as those tires begin to wear. So we'll have to see if that 74 can get it done as he's painting that white line with his teammate Christopher Norris, making the pass on Cody Reed there. This is critical for both these drivers up to 9th for the 38 because they need stage points in that 38 team, especially with Ethan Smith up there in the 3rd position. He needs to go grab a few more.
And I was actually curious. We saw this last week with those teammates from Snowy Desert Racing. It's Cody Reed trying to get to the inside. Great crossover move on the 38 machine as they're keeping it close for 9th position. But Christopher Norris, as well as Nick Crawford, we saw at Dover being very aggressive on saving those tires, and it really didn't show that much in the long run. I'm curious on how much they're going to learn on this stage, willing to be aggressive or save those tires for the longer runs. As right now, looks like for Christopher Norris, he's okay with staying where he's at. Is Cody Reed in a position where he needs to get aggressive? He is the last driver points-wise that can point his way into the Final Four. 8 points out from Ethan Smith. He needs a massive day. He needs to get in front of that 0-0.
He really does. He needs to get ahead of his teammate there, and Ethan Smith well up the grid for him right now. And you know, you brought up the Dover strategy that we've seen some of these guys run that snowy desert racer where they definitely saved too much. You know, they tried to go for the age-old adage of, oh, I'm gonna manage my tires and make my way through as the run goes, but it just didn't work out that way. Track position is such a critical thing, and you're playing aero wars out here, in my opinion. It's all about putting the air on someone else's nose and making them have to use up their tires that much more, because if you save at the beginning, drop back, you got to use the tires at some point to get back up to them, and it usually evens out by that point. So a lot of those, you know, saving techniques sometimes just run out of gas and they just don't get it done. So we'll see what they utilize here tonight, but it's definitely a track that I think can lull you into thinking that saving can make a huge gain, and it could be backfire on you because just how quickly that track position matters.
Christopher Norris now going to be under fire from GT Rosari. He was having a pretty strong run at Dover last week before being caught up in some other messes. 14 certainly is a driver that always is trying to play spoiler. Also playing spoiler up front, pass for the leads being made as Ollie Fonseca, Mark Whitley side by side, and this is where the fighting and defending. The 24 defends on the outside. Mark now going to go to the outer groove, trying to build that momentum for the straightaway, and here comes the speed from the 77. But Zach, that's one more attempt that 77 it takes. He's hoping to bounce to the outside here, but Ollie, he gives it up.
He gives up that outside groove. We'll see how well it works. In my opinion, always, this outside groove in 1 and 2 is the place where you can actually gain on that driver. And look at this immense run that a 77 got. And look, he's just going to get to the back bumper in the 24, try to make him go too fast here into 3, and now going to elect to run up higher in 3 and 4. Well, I don't think it's as beneficial in my opinion, but you can still get some great runs off of 4, as this time coming through the tri-oval, Whitley going to be all over the back bumper. I think this is working well. It is a very good technique to get runs on somebody here with this, but how long can he do it without damaging the tires is going to be the question. At least the biggest thing by going up there is you get that clean air, but he's sideways there off of 2, holding on to that machine. That's almost going to open up the door for Ethan Smith.
And that's showing the wear and tear on these drivers. 15 laps in, it's usually around 15 to 20 laps that drivers that have not been protecting their tires start to feel the loose sensation click in. And if the 77's already showing looseness, it's only going to get worse as the run progresses on. He's got to be careful on the throttle now from here moving out as the 77 continues to go the outside lane. He's got to be careful because you see on screen the 11 to 00 Blackjack Racing teammates on the move, and a little bit of a scrape from Malik Kuntz behind him.
A little bit of a scrape for sure there for Kuntz, and he's on somewhat of a little bit of a momentum streak, been getting better finishes here in these playoffs and doing a good job in the 98, so he's trying to work his way up into that picture of battle up there. But Mark Whitley, he's doing an immense job right now to make that outside groove work. He's all over Ollie Fonseca once again, kind of just pushing him into the corner, forcing him maybe to go a little bit faster than he wants to be, and that could cause a little bit more wear and tear. You can even see here from this onboard shot.
Oh, he's in the wall.
Up into the wall.
And that's a nightmare that you're going to have of working on the outside lane, is that wall. If you get loose and you try to chase the truck going higher and higher on the track, the wall is going to catch you at some point. And now with Ethan Smith, John Forbes, they're putting the pressure on the 77. He's got to be careful on the exit of turn 4, as he will be all right. They come across the line. Ollie Fonseca first, but second under pressure is Ethan Smith. John Forbes trying to make this pass to the 77. Once again, can he survive the exit of the corner?
That's going to be the question. He's been very much fighting a condition up there that you don't want to have. When you're up against that wall and you start to step sideways, you have that much more less room to save it. When you're on that bottom, you have all the way up to that wall to save that truck. When you're up against it, it's pretty much you got to save it immediately or you're going to be in that thing. And luckily, he's able to hold on to second there and get past back clear of the 00. But again, that outside groove, I'm very interested to see how it's going to work here as this run continues on, because right now, 19 laps in, we're already into the 33-second bracket. It just shows you how abrasive this racetrack is and really how much finesse you have to get around here.
You see those black lines in the middle of the track. Those are the seams, 3 different distinct lanes, progressive banking that allows these drivers to run these different lines on where they're feeling the most comfortable. And you see here, battling for 5th place is Trenton Jump, trying to make his push forward for the 46 machine as he's trying to get by Malik Hoots, who can rush the outside wall, and that's going to be something that these drivers don't want to be grabbing. Aero damage, major key here at Atlanta.
It really is, Sam. If you get damage on that truck, it is pretty much like putting a parachute on it. You lose straight line speed, which is critical for how much momentum based these trucks are and how much throttle time you really use. But it also hurts your downforce levels in the corners where you need grip. With this track being so abrasive, the less downforce you have, the worse tire wear you're going to have because of how much you're sliding across the surface by losing that grip. And right now, a few drivers starting to make some moves. Looks like Nick Crawford getting around. Trenton jumped there to move himself up to 7th. And it's good to see, though, that these guys are able to move around a little bit and actually find ways to pass each other this late to the run already.
And late in this run, that was one thing that was very concerned, and it seems like that of the 74 has done a great job saving his tires for the long run. That of the 38 of Christopher Norris, putting the pressure on Cody Reed, thinking about poking the nose down low for 3 wide, thinks better of it as he settles behind the 25 machine. Starting to see, Zach, the pressure, and I think everyone recognizing they have to stay in this lead pack, cannot lose touch to your leaders, and the pressure certainly continues to build up as I'm looking at the gap. Ollie Fonseca starting to pull away from the field as Mark Whitley kind of being a valve that's holding back the whole entire lead pack. It's allowing the 24 to pull away.
I think that 77 is going to start to struggle here with how much he's ran that outer groove. I just don't know how well those tires are going to hold on for him. The benefit for him is, loose off of 4 once again, moving up the racetrack. That's going to allow even Ethan Smith here to get down low and try to get the pass done. But again, they haven't been able to get around him because passing in the bottom is just that much harder to do when someone's able to run this groove and just carry the momentum up top. 3 distinct grooves here through 1 and 2, though. And right now, Whitley just holding on for dear life as we're actually nearing pit stops here. I mean, you could technically come down here in the next 5 to 10 laps here and be well inside the range of where you need to be pitting. But the question is, if that caution comes out and it catches you a lap down, your race could be quickly down in the dumps.
Very much so, as we're seeing the 77 still under pressure. And once again, if you're just joining us now, you're watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. This is a battle for 2nd place with the 77 in the white and red being challenged by the 00 of Ethan Smith on the inside. Ollie Fonseca has the lead position and is looking great out front, trying to get himself the maximum amount of points possible. But tonight is the last race of the round of 8. After tonight, we will know our final 4 drivers that will race for a championship next week, where it's whoever finishes the best of those 4 wins the championship for season 4. We're starting to see more movement. It's Christopher Norris already getting by Cody Reed, now trying to get by Joshua Kanata and GT Rosario, the 38, saving those tires, and it looks to be working out at this time. But he's getting loose for the 38 there.
Oh, man, it's starting to step out late exit there on him, doing a good job of holding on to that machine, but he wanted to get those spots. He can see Ethan Smith not too far ahead in the 3rd position. That's the driver that he really wants to gain on when it comes to points being behind him entering here tonight. And Norris knows what's on the line, a Final 4 championship slot that I think him coming into the season would have never imagined he'd be in this position. But the improvement has been immense as he's trying to do the slide job, but just too tight there in the center. Slides up the racetrack, but look, now it's going to be a good enough run off the corner because the 16 had to lift just that tiny bit. That allows him to be side by side here, heading down into 3. Christopher Norris needs to get this done because that pack ahead of him is starting to get just that little bit smaller in that front windshield.
Well, they are also getting very racy in the lead group. Right now, Mark Whitley, Ethan Smith almost colliding up the exit of turn 4, and Ethan Smith had to lose all the momentum, setting up for his teammate to try to make these passes. And then behind them, a lot of other drivers getting active, but look at those hands. They were going wild in the center off of the corner as we look back from the Darth Vader machine of Ethan Smith, and drivers bouncing to the inside, others just staying in line.
That they are. This is the hands have to always be so quick here in Atlanta, man. You're always on edge, and that's the fast way to drive it around here, is right on the edge of the grip level. And I mean, this group has been going at it, and the driver that loves to see this more than anything is Fonseca out front, who is almost 0.2 of a second faster than any of these drivers in this group. So Fonseca really loving the clean air out front. And the one thing I've noticed from him, he is painting the white line. He is just keeping that left front pinned to it and not coming up off that bottom groove. I think that's really helping the tire wear here. Is now Ethan Smith. He might have an opportunity here to jump to the outside of 77. This will be his best chance here coming off of 4 to get the job done.
He's trying to make sure he stays to the quarter panel off the exit of the corner. They're going to be side by side. There's Ollie Fonseca, and here's the battle for second. Ethan Smith going to be continue to stay to the outside lane, but Mark Whitley, he's got to be careful because staying down low this late into a run, you are basically a wounded animal just waiting to get pounced on as Ethan Smith gets a nose. Here comes John Forbes as well. It's Malik Coates setting up for this train.
It is going to be a train of them, Sam, here going around the outside of the 77. And like you said, you're kind of like a wounded animal down there on that bottom groove. Yes, it's the fastest way around here by yourself, but when you're too wide, it's not, and Whitley's wrecking.
Whitley going to be going off the grass. I believe this could be a black flag penalty to that of the 77 who's still in the grass. He's driving back up into the racing surface, and that is a complete just meltdown for the 77.
And he was, entering here tonight in a must-win position. Well, that was the mistake I said he couldn't have, and he just had it. The lucky case for him, we do have that stage break coming up there at lap 60 that he can recover from, but we've seen how tough it is to get passes done, and Whitley has got to be kicking himself right now knowing this could be his shot for a championship going out the window.
And teammates almost colliding with one another, everyone trying to get into pit road, and it can become a logjam with drivers just trying to slow down. That's around 6-7 drivers that just entered pit road, being led by Ethan Smith, John Forbes, Trenton Jump, the first driver to make a clean pit stop in and out. Nick Crawford in the 74 trying to jump the leader of Ollie Fonseca, hoping for this to work out. Ollie Fonseca, though, Zach, continues to stay out on track for another lap.
This is an interesting decision from him here, Sam. I like it. He had the gap to go an extra few laps, but he cannot wait too long. I know that low-hanging fruit of saying, hey, I can go out there and get fresher tires and just drive by everybody. Yes, it's nice to have those fresher tires, but driving around people uses up that good on the tires, as they say, and it can quickly come back to bite him here if he just stays out that too many laps. I think he needs to hit pit road this time. That way he can come out somewhere right around that lead position to get right back into that groove, and he is.
As he comes into pit road, other drivers on the radio saying they're coming into pit road, and this is about to get very tricky because drivers are now on fresh tires, others on old, and we're about to see a big mix and mingle. If you've already come into pit road, you're hoping for this race to stay green, but here is the chaos. The drivers behind the 91, it's being led by Nick Crawford, and other drivers split in the middle, trying to send it, and Zach, you touched on the speed difference. Look at these drivers just blasting their way on by.
It is amazing to see, man. I tell you, I miss these days, the old days of fall off. Looks like Cody Smith there almost, it was Logan Brakey off. Like a little bit of smoke coming off of that car, but I mean, up ahead of this group, they're just dicing through the field. The 74 of Nick Crawford, the 00 Ethan Smith, they're just cutting through the field like it's a hot knife on butter because literally, I mean, this is 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster with those fresh tires.
And everyone's trying to chase to run down Nick Crawford. Ollie Fonseca getting back out on track, but he's going to be behind all of these drivers. He no longer will have the clean air with Ollie staying out those extra couple of laps. He might have led a few more laps, but the track position, throw it away for the for that of the 24, who is going to have just that of a 2-lap advantage. We'll see how much it's going to work out as he's trying to run down Nick Crawford and the rest of the field.
Watching from earlier, the fall off was so fast. They happened so quickly. It was about a second and a half in the first 15 laps of this race. Fonseca is going to have the advantage of that 2-lap fresher tires. His tires are not going to fall off as rapidly, but still losing that clean air, losing that track position to drivers like Nick Crawford, the 00 Ethan Smith. We know how tough those drivers can be to get around. This could come back to bite Ollie, but right now he's quickly already on the back of this group here and trying to make his way through. Fonseca, though, was so perfect in that first run. This decision here might come back to bite him, but we'll have to see, Sam, because the fresh tires aren't great to have in Atlanta.
Still have that of over 9 drivers still needing to come into pit road. Matt Upbrook going to be the next driver to come in and get service done for himself, but it's Jesse Gordock leading the way. With the 96 is Zachary Peterson, Eric Stamp, and as well Joshua Kanata and Joshua Freed could be those top 5 drivers as This group, all about the points. You're seeing the cluster of yellow banners on our ticker. Well, those are the drivers that are battling for the championship. Their goal at the end of lap 60 to be inside of our top 10, and the further up you are, the more bonus points you can grab. That's why this racing is so aggressive between these drivers, because every position is so important.
It is so important, Sam, and the driver that doesn't worry about anything is right there in the mix too. Trent Jumpy, he's locked in with the win from last week. He's trying to, get up in the mix and, make this a little bit of a racy battle. But Fonseca, through all this,
oh no, drivers, contact! Cody Reed, contact with the leader of that of Jesse Thornock in the 25, massive damage for himself.
Oh man, Reed spun around, and Thornock right now, he is completely destroyed too, making his way slowly around the banking here down into 1. And for a playoff driver like Cody Reed, this is terrible to see for him. Only 8 points coming out of here tonight. And man, with no stage points right here, and a driver like the 00 Ethan Smith who need to be up there battling for really the stage win, this has pretty much turned his chances of going on to the Final Four out of the window.
Cody Reed was trying to split the gap of what were the leaders at the time, Jesse Thornock and Zachary Peterson. There just wasn't a big enough hole when he went through. It got squeezed, and drivers collected that of Cody Reed into pit road, frustrated because he felt like he had a chance to try to point his way in, but he is going to call it a night. The 25 is done. His hope for a championship run next week is over, and we're down to just 7 drivers now trying to find their way into a championship.
And this group still here has not pitted. It's led by Zachary Peterson, Freed, Brakey, Dingler, Altice, and Kanata here. So they've all stayed out now for these first 39 laps of this race. The question is, can they stretch the fuel? I don't think so. What I was getting readings from people was about 52 laps here tonight on a tank of fuel. So they need to save about 8 laps, and you got to get back to pit road. We saw Forbes have his troubles from Dover with that. So it just shows you it's going to be tough for these drivers to make it last that long, but they're losing so much time. They might even come down, a lap down to our leaders if they don't get in here quickly.
And I'm watching the drivers that have already pitted, and it is a battle between the teammates right now as Nick Crawford has been holding back most of the field, allowing Christopher Norris now to be side by side with Ethan Smith. Smith gives the bumper to the 74, trying to get him loose. Here comes Ollie Fonseca, and these drivers should be the ones that take the lead after our top 6 make their pit stops, but they are getting aggressive here, Zach. Already Cody Reed's out of this race. Could they all throw away their opportunities here to race for a championship?
I mean, they're all right here in position. If they wreck, it's going to open up so many possibilities for these drivers. And Christopher Norris doing such a good job in the phase of pit stops there. I mean, he was in that around 8th to 9th position before pit stops. Now he's going to be battling for a stage victory. So this is huge for him. And the driver he needs to beat on points, right there ahead of him, of Ethan Smith. This is what this 38 needs. And right now, just holding on as Fonseca finally gets it done around the outside of the 38. He's going to be looking to get back up to his top spot.
Ollie Fonseca, freshest tires of these drivers in our shot right now. And that's where the 24 is able to make some of these moves, bouncing the outside of Ethan Smith, trying to move forward. That of the 00 doing his best to defend, but at this point you just got to hold back anyone behind you. And Ethan Smith, he can defend, he can be all right. The big thing is he cannot allow Mark Whitley to win this race or allow any of the other drivers behind him to gain more points on the 00, and he should be in a very comfortable spot after this stage is done. But you need every point possible against stage break at the end of lap 60. And Zach, we still have plenty more racing to go.
We really do, Sam. This has been intense to see. I mean, it just shows you all these drivers are willing to risk it and put it on the line because they know the opportunity awaits them at Charlotte next week if they can go out there and get it done here. And Christopher Norris battling strong with this 00. He's going to jump up right for the Trenton jump, and that was a tight hole to fit it in there.
And there was no other space. You could not fit a piece of paper in between the rear bumper or the front. Christopher Norris was told clear. He made the move quickly, efficiently. And when we talk about drivers having hesitations, if he did hesitate at just one moment as John Force is loose, he holds on to it. But any type of hesitation at this point, with how close everyone is, you are going to cause a massive wreck. And these drivers, they are putting on a show right now here at Hot Atlanta.
They really are, man. This has been so fun to watch. I miss this old racetrack. because it gives you opportunities like this, man. This old worn out tires, you put some playoffs on the line for these drivers, and everybody's going to drive that much harder. That makes the balance of their trucks that much more worse. It makes them have to work that harder behind the wheel. So this has been a great opening 45 laps. Still yet our top three have not pit. Joshua Altis, Zachary Peterson, and Kanata, but Ali Fonseca has finally gotten past Nick Crawford. He's starting to drive away from this group, and Nick Crawford here now falling back into the clutches of Ethan Smith and Christopher Norris, his teammate there. So this is not what Nick Crawford, necessarily needs is this finish in the stage, but he definitely doesn't want to have any problems. So he's got to be smart here still, where he doesn't get involved in any type of incident, but still get some decent stage points out of this run.
Every point so crucial. Still waiting for our top three to hit pit road, and they are driving so slow at this time, Zach. I'm thinking maybe they are trying to test. Oh man, boy. Ethan Smith is frustrated over the radio, not happy, and it looked like there might have been some air touching action that happened there. But in the cockpit, it felt like for Ethan Smith, he almost got dumped by Christopher Norris.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's what he felt from the rear end. It ran into the back of Nick Crawford also, so maybe got sandwiched there in between those two, and Christopher Norris took advantage of that. And the big thing for Ethan Smith, his nose is hurt. That is some good splitter damage on the front of that truck. That's not only going to hurt the performance on the straightaways, but also the performance in the corners. Ethan Smith is definitely going to be a little bit angry after that situation, after trying to battle for a top two in the stage.
Look at that front right. You can see it almost a little bit off center. See the little crinkle. That's what we're talking about with the splitter having some damage. And you might be thinking that's just a small little notch there. Well, it's just enough to cause some crucial aero damage on why the 00 is losing pace to the drivers around him.
It is so tough, man, because you saw the left front. It was pinned to the ground. That's what you want the splitter to be, right as close to that surface on the racetrack as possible. That pretty much from center onto the right side, all lifted up. That's all air flowing underneath that car that isn't getting, the suction that you need from that splitter to make that critical downforce. Ethan Smith going to be struggling with that until he can somewhat get it fixed. And sometimes even on pit road, they don't even get it fixed to the best of their knowledge. And this is not what he needed, Sam, at all. I mean, he's right now in a net 8th position after all the pit stops cycle through. This is going to be critical points lost for him, and then critical points gained for Christopher Norris, who's in a net P2 here at the end of the stage.
I mean, but there was at some point that something was going to have to crack. I mean, they were so on top of one another, and some of those aggressive moves that we were seeing, someone was bound to make contact. It was Christopher Norris that initiated it with that smashing of giving some slight contact. But again, looking from the review, from my perspective, Zach, it looked like it might have been a little bit of that quote-unquote aero issues that might have forced the 00 to get that contact. As you're seeing now, Joshua Altis in the pit road. Zachary Peterson continues to stay out, but he's about to be passed by the 24 of Ali Fonseca.
I see the same thing, Sam, going back and looking at it myself, man. I think it wasn't no contact, just a little bit of aero playing out right there that got that 00 upset into the back bumper of the 74. That was where the contact came. And then from there, I mean, the 74 and Ethan Smith were holding on for dear life. Luckily, they both kept it together. But again, that damage is just what's going to be the detriment for Ethan Smith. You cannot get damage at high-speed racetracks like this, especially where they're abrasive, because not only does it slow you down, but again, like I said earlier, it makes the tire wear that much even worse when you have the damage. So tough ordeal there for Ethan Smith, who right now is a net P8 here after all these pit stops have now played out, and Fonseca back to the lead. But this is a change of the guard, because 5 points separated that 38 in that number the 00 Ethan Smith. That 5 points, you can erase it now, because if it was to finish this way right here, Christopher Norris would bounce his way up into the top 4.
Yeah, right now, Christopher Norris is going to be getting some good points for himself. John Forbes as well, trying to keep it close with Christopher Norris, but it is all Ali Fonseca up front. As you see the 74 of Nick Crawford. Crawford, that rear end damage, Zach, I think it might be giving, on top of him being one of the earlier drivers to come to pit road, tires and damage. This is not looking good, as he's got Malik Kuntz and GT Razari right on the back bumper of the 74.
It seems to be adding up for him for sure. That early pit stop there, 1 lap earlier than everybody else, and also that little bit of damage there on the left rear, and probably even that slide through the corner. And another thing, he's been running that middle groove kind of, defending there in the middle groove. I wonder if that's kind of played a factor into his tire wear here, as he's got Malik Kuntz all over his back bumper. But Nick Crawford doesn't need to do anything too special, like we said, coming in here tonight. He just needs to get some decent points, and if he's able to finish 5th or 6th here in the stage, that would be just perfect for him here to get some good bonus points heading into the final part of this race.
All he needs to do, like you said, Zach, just finish in the top 5, 6th place. That's enough points. He had a 15-point buffer over Christopher Norris, and getting that points, yes, Christopher Norris is going to close in as well as the other drivers, but it's going to be more so Ethan Smith that's going to get the major loss of this whole entire circumstance on how it's gone down. And as well, they all have to be careful because Mark Whitley is still on the lead lap, even with the complete debacle that happened. Trying to go into pit road, had to go through the grass, come back the next lap. He's still in the lead lap, only back in 10th place right now is the 77.
You cannot ever count this guy out, in my opinion. Mark Whitley's back here in 10th. That's not where he wants to be. But he's probably learned a ton through his first 56 laps. And once we get that, that caution here at lap 60, he'll be able to apply what he's learned here and possibly make himself that much better heading into the last part of the race. I'm very keen on seeing how it plays out for him. But, man, it does seem to be a little bit of struggle still from him. I still see the rear end stepping out sideways and him not really being able to control the truck like he would like. So we'll see what he learns, Sam. But, it may not still be out of the cards for him to go get the win, but it's still going to be a tough one with all that track position loss.
A lot of track position in the loss, but it's all about getting the caution, setting this whole entire battle that's been going on. As once again, Nick Crawford somehow still defending 2 drivers behind him. He's holding back Malik Kuntz. GT Razzari not able to make any movement, but it's allowing Ethan Smith to get back into the fray here as those tires have been falling off. And for Christopher Norris and drivers up ahead, John Forbes, trip jump, they've made their switch. But if we're going to see a caution here late that could change things up, it could be around this group of drivers, as GT and Malik have both been driving so aggressively with their tires to get by the 74. It just hasn't worked out. And now you got an angry Ethan Smith that's trying to close in on that group.
Yeah, that's going to play out interesting here. I mean, Ethan's got to be heated under that driver helmet right now. So he's going to try anything in his power here to get up there and gain some points, because he knows. He knew coming in here tonight that 38 machine was the one he needed to stay ahead of, with him being the driver right behind him. And with him, getting the contact from him, that is only going to make those feelings that much worse for him. As you can see Fonseca out here, it's a completely different feeling for him, Sam, because, it's just been domination. This 24, this has been clearly his best race of his career here so far, and this opening stage has looked like he's had no problems. Even hitting the pit stop later, losing the lead, he's just driving away.
He's been able to keep that nose out of trouble. He got away from the drivers that were wrecking around one another, and out of turn number 4, it's the white flag of the stage. It's your lap stage break about to happen here. Top 10 drivers are going to get stage points. If you're going to win the stage, you get 10 bonus points. Second gets 9. Third gets 8. It continues to dwindle down until you get to 10th place, where they only get 1 bonus point. But it's so crucial. We saw it last season. It came down to even ties in points at the end of some of these races. So every point got to be so massive if you're going to be running for a championship next week. As out of turn number 4, it's the 24 of Ollie Fonseca getting a stage win here at the Legacy Atlanta 150. And what a run that he got to have. We wait until 10th place crosses the line before the yellow flag comes out, which is Mark Whitley, as he's coming out of turn 4 currently.
Yeah, they're waiting for that flag to happen, but Ali Fonseca, man, this guy could be looking to be maybe a favorite heading into Charlotte next week, especially with his performance here so far at Atlanta. This 24, he is peaking at the exact right time, and this time he's peaking while he's in the playoffs. This is what you want to see from that 24 team, and I'm telling you, yeah, we haven't seen this type of performance out of him yet. We've seen a win in the past from him, but this type of dominance, this 24 has not shown. This is the perfect time to show it.
Massive points grabbed as these drivers try to catch up to the pace car. A lot of talking, though, between Christopher Norris and Ethan Smith, as they're no longer focusing on the racetrack. They're trying to have conversations with one another. But this is one of those race incidences where you kind of hope that maybe, a spotter could influence and let you know what exactly went down on that situation. Because it seems like Ethan fuming and might be thinking about getting some revenge on Christopher Norris based on what we're hearing over the radio chatter.
Yeah, I understand. You got to be mad. Trust me, I'm a driver. I know how those things go. When you think something played out a certain way in your head, it just keeps running through your mind, especially when the championship and playoffs are on the line. So it continually kind of keeps being brought up in your head, but you can't react just off of what you think because sometimes it plays out differently. I know as a driver myself, in the car, we have situations that play out and you're very frustrated with somebody, and then you go back and watch a replay and you say, oh man, that was kind of just a racing ordeal and it just kind of happened. And I think that's kind of what that case was. I don't think there was anything malicious from the 38. I think it was just hard racing there, and it ended up contact between the two, and you would never want to see that 00 get into the 38 to cause any issues. But I mean, we've seen it in the past. It definitely could happen.
As drivers exiting out of pit road, it's going to be that of Ali Fonseca, our stage winner, beating everybody out. And what a chaotic first stage. And we still have a little bit over 85 laps to go here tonight. Man, I got to say, Zach, this is going to be a fun race for everyone out here. If you have not shared the stream, you might as well do it, because the fireworks are not done just yet. And let's see if we can queue up our stage winner of Ali Fonseca, get his thoughts, as he has been fast, quick, and this looks to be his race. Let's see if we can get the 24. Ollie, it's Sam and Zach with the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, you win the stage, you get your first pole of the season. Man, how are you feeling after that one? How's the track?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, man. I'm right where I want to be here. I got clean air, and yeah, I'm just happy to be leading this thing. I'm fast. I just hope on keeping it up front, and not getting gobbled up by the field here on this restart. Clean air is everything right now, so it's definitely playing in my favor.
Well, Ollie, like you said, clean air has been very beneficial for you, and you had that little battle there with Mark Whitley through that first opening laps of the race. We've seen you kind of be painted right to that white line. Is that kind of the plan going into it, or because we've seen the 77 running the top, and he seemed to struggle as that run went on.
Yeah, I just all around feel like the bottom is the way to run. I try to paint the line in 3 and 4 there, and then I'll arc it going into 1 and 2 to try to get a little bit more center speed off. And yeah, it just doesn't burn the right front up as much, and yeah, it just seems to be working for me. So I'm gonna keep on doing what I've been doing.
Well, Ollie, there's already been one driver out of this race of Cody Reed of your playoff contenders. What's your confidence level based off the points that are being tallied right now? It seems like you're tied with Nick Crawford, second in points, and got a pretty decent gap. Are you still thinking just win, 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 or are you now in kind of a conservative mode with the way the points are kind of cycling through?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be on pure win mode here until I see any reason, not to. If something happens, then I'll be worried about the points. But right now, all I want to do is win this race.
Sounds like a good idea. Well, Ollie, we'll send you back up to your team. Good luck for this one, as hopefully we'll talk to you at the end of this race.
Thanks, guys.
As drivers are ramping up and getting ready. Already, it is a madhouse over Discord with some of the issues that have blossomed here in just the first 65 laps of tonight's race. We've already lost one. Cody Reed no longer will be running for a championship, as he was caught up trying to get by Jesse Thornock as well as Zachary Peterson, and gets calamitied while in the middle of pit cycles as he had fresher tires trying to get by others. Doesn't work out, but the drivers that are up front, Ali Fonseca in good points position for himself, as he has a 12-point buffer over that of Christopher Norris, as well over that of John Forbes. A confident position to be for those drivers, but this is when it gets fun. There's no more stages. It's all about the win. If you win, you're automatically locked in, and Mark Whitley is still one of the fastest drivers. He was battling for with the lead earlier on in this race. He'll be starting back in that 9th position. But up front, it is Ali Fonseca, Trent Jump, Christopher Norris, Nick Crawford, John Forbes into the restart zone, and we're green once again for the Legacy Atlanta 150.
Another great start there for Fonseca out front. He's able to get that clean air like he alluded to in that stage break interview there. And it's Trenton Jump who jumps down right in front of Christopher Norris, able to take over the second position. But look at the run here from the 46 machine. He's going to look to the inside of Ollie here. This is a similar situation to what Mark Whitley did. They were able to battle that first few laps of the run. Can Fonseca fight back like he did earlier?
Trying to do a pinch, staying close to that inner seam, trying to pinch down the 46, not allowing to get back into the throttle, which is going to push the 38 back into the fray here to get mixy. But it's Trenton Jump trying to lead that lap and across the line. It was so close. It was 2,000ths of a second, but give it to the 24. That lap, who's again aiming for the most laps led in a race, is this 24. That's 3 extra bonus points to secure him into the playoffs and make sure he's not one of the drivers that potentially could get bounced out if one of the drivers outside of our top 4 in points wins here tonight.
Like we always say, every point matters. So if you can go get those 3, that's going to be helpful for sure. And see Trenton Jump here. He ran that outer groove there in 3 and 4, able to get a nice run, able to get back to the inside line of this 24. And he's going to send it here down into the corner and try to hold on to, or take over that top position. But Fonseca will fight back right to the quarter panel. And that's what you need to do, is get to the quarter panel, pull that driver back, and use that side draft that is so vital in these trucks when it comes to momentum style racing like this. And it's close action right now between those top 2 as Fonseca closes the door shut on the 46.
Ollie Fonseca has never made it to the Final 4 in any of the previous seasons he's ran in. He is challenging Season 2 champion of Trenton Jump. Christopher Norris, who's also running in 3rd, has never made it to the Final 4. This is new territory for some of these drivers that are battling so aggressively up front. And Zach, in Season 4, this is incredible to see, because some of these drivers back in Season 1, Season 2, they started in that of 20th or worse, and right now battling up front for the win.
This is what I love, man. The growth. It's really what you get to see through these seasons. I mean, 4 seasons in, and we've had drivers make complete turnarounds from where they started their career here at ISRC. And I think that's the beauty of leagues that continue on for this many seasons on and bring back so many reoccurring drivers. You get to see them blossom and grow as drivers. And we've really seen that happen for a few of them out there, to say the least. So it has been fun to watch, and it only will continue more as they head into Season 5 next season. So I can't wait to continue here, and we'll get to see how these drivers grow. As Mark Whitley there trying to pass that 00 Ethan Smith, and Ethan Smith there at pit stop there for the stage did not elect to get anything fixed, or all the damage fixed there on the front end. So electing just to keep the track position, that's an interesting decision to be made. It's always so tough to be made when you're behind the wheel, but I think it could come back to bite him here a little bit. Even though losing all that track position would be tough to come back from, I think he would have been quick enough to gain some of those positions back. But right now, just fighting with that damage with Mark Whitley here.
Mark Whitley on a recovery run again after green flag pit stops under our first stage of this race. 77 completely missed the entry. We had to drive through the grass, get back on track, and hit the next lap, which cost us so much time. Potential big bonus points to be grabbed, but the 77 isn't thinking about points. He does not have any potential chance to point his way in to the Final 4 because of missing last week and getting 0 points then. He is in a must-win scenario. And right now the 77 being pressured by the 53. Eric Stamp, the last driver to win this race, all the way back in Season 2, almost a year and a half ago, back in March of 2022. It was Eric Stamp who had a fuel strategy run that got him into victory lane. And with the way that the fuel looks here, Zach, fuel strategy could be a big factor here tonight based on when drivers come to pit road.
It could be, with the ending of a stage there around 60, it's going to be a one-stop race. But if we get a caution at some point here around 55 to go, that could put it in the range of where we could see someone like Eric Stamp go again for that strategy to save the fuel and make it, because this is a track with a lot of off-throttle time, and you start the run with a lot of on-throttle time, so it really transitions throughout the run of how much throttle usage you're using and how much gas you're burning, and that could end up leading into a factor where you could save even that much more fuel here by going slower at the beginning of the run. So we could see that 52 lap range that people were talking about be stretched out to 55, 58 laps. So we'll see if that caution does come out the right time. It could very well get very mixy when it comes to that pit strategy, and we'll get to see how it plays out. But at the moment, it looks to be a one-stop from here on out.
Looks to be a one-stop. Drivers trying to push their way forward for every single position as the drivers get to the halfway marker. This might be one of the few times we're going to have a time to take a breath. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. You won't miss a thing as we're going to be going side by side. You're watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. It's the last race of the round of 8, the cutoff point of who's racing for championship. It's the Legacy Atlanta 150. We'll be right back after this commercial break in just a few moments.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Masker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. Playoff racing action, plenty of drama in the first 60 laps of this race. The stage point's so critical. Drivers are willing to do almost anything for those points. We saw some wrecks, we saw some carnage, and currently right now, Ollie Fonseca, our stage winner, is doing fantastic up front. As the drivers are getting themselves prepared for the final push in the second half of this race, there's no more stage points. It's all about the win. We got to give a quick shout out to our amazing sponsors for the ISRC Truck Series. Starting things off with the title sponsor of Race Car Graveyard. If you want to get yourself started in diecast collecting, go to Race Car Graveyard on Instagram. Remember to use the promo code RCGY to start your collection today. As well, the Lap Lap. Quality memes all the time. Daily posts, racing relevant. Go check out the _lap on Instagram for those memes today. As well, major thanks to Larry Art Productions for comedy and variety YouTube videos and some great entertainment. Go to Larry Art Productions today. And final thing that we got to shout out here at Freaking Fast Broadcasting, we've got ourselves our very own charity race. It's our second one of the year, our last one of 2023. It's the Gamer Outreach 600. Gen 4 Cup cars at Charlotte, 400 laps, 600 miles. Well, it all goes off June 10th. Very soon, and Zach cannot wait for it. You can see a lot more slipping and sliding than we are even seeing here tonight.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a ton of slipping and sliding there around the Charlotte Motor Speedway with those high horsepower Gen 4 Cup Series cars. So we can't wait to see how that plays out. We've had a great group of drivers already sign up for it. Make sure you join our Discord if you want to go out there and be a part of that race, and do it for a great cause also there for the Gamers Outreach Foundation. It's a pleasure for us to do it and hold our 2 charity events a year and really raise money for kids out there in very much need of some happiness and joy in their lives. So definitely a great cause, and thank you to everybody who's already participated in our Daytona 500 race, and now we're going to get to compete in our 600-mile event there at Charlotte. It's going to be a blast one indeed for sure. So make sure you get signed up for it, and you'll be able to join us out there on track. But man, this action here tonight, Sam, it's been intense so far. It's been so fun to watch, but right now it's starting to heat up a little bit more. Mark Whitley, he's starting to make a little bit of a charge back. He's up to 7th after getting past Nick Crawford. And even Nick Crawford and Ethan Smith now getting into it. Could these two get a little bit of fireworks flying? Because I know Ethan Smith may be a little even mad at that 74 because, you know, he's part of that Snowy Desert Racing team.
And Splatjack Racing, the team of Ethan Smith, as well as Snowy Desert with Nick Crawford, they had their bickers and anger and mad moments from last season. They haven't really trickled over to season 4 as often, but tonight might refire those as Ethan Smith and as well Nick Crawford to be side by side. But Nick Crawford, he bounced this far into the field. He almost got wrecked just that 5 laps ago when Mark Whitley was trying to get by. The question is, for the 77 and as well as the rest of the field, the quote-unquote air, Zach, it is showing a lot here tonight. And drivers, when they're side by side off the exit of the corners, they have to be careful because that seems to be the most trouble for that air.
It happens so quickly. I mean, you get close to each other and it affects that truck on the outside or the inside, and then you know, next thing you know, you got damage and you're just trying to battle back from that. So it's one of those tough situations that you got to deal with when you're racing hard side by side here, especially at Atlanta. And right now, these two definitely continuing that battle, and even Mark Whitley up ahead. I don't know if the 77's maybe saved a little bit, because remember I said you learned from that first stage there. Maybe he's figured out a little bit how to save that truck, because the lap times have been looking good from the 77. Now making a pass on GT Arizari up to the 6th position for him. Still got a lot of time to make up, about 1.8 seconds back from our leader, Vali Fonseca, but still a great job by Mark Whitley here to possibly give him a shot still to go out there and get the win, because that's what he's going to need if he wants to move on to fight for a championship at Charlotte. And I think that's the last thing any of these drivers who are in the Final Four want to see.
Yeah, you do not want to see the 77 battling for a championship. There's been 2 drivers in their career that have made it to every Final Four that they have started for, and Mark Whitley, one of those 2. The other was Nick Crawford, which for that stat's a little bit odd because Nick Crawford, his rookie season was last season when he made the Final Four. But if he makes the Final Four this season, it continues on that trend, and the 77 has done that as well. He's made it to 2 Final Fours, and he's trying to make it his 3rd as Mark stepped away in season 2 to go run in a different league. But here this season, this has been the true redemption. He thought last season was it. It fell short after being passed with 20 laps to go at Phoenix. Here tonight, he's trying to set up for a chance to take back a championship and finally get his first that he's been hunting since season 1 for.
He's been hunting for it, man. You know, he was so close last season. You know, it was a heartbreaker. Personally, lost it on pit road to Danny Cochran with a close fought battle between those two. And I mean, you could go back and watch the long run out there, folks, if you haven't seen it yet. He was upset about that one. He was not happy. He doesn't like how the format is anyways. He thinks these playoff formats like this are just not to his liking. And it definitely is one that I think sticks out in his brain that he doesn't want to have happen again. And if he misses the Final Four here tonight, he's going to be saying what could have been for sure for that 77, because it's been another dominant season for him, but just possibly not a final trophy to bring home. And that would be just a heartbreaker for him to end it out here in season 4 like that.
I mean, dominant is one word to say. This has been his most dominant season of all 3 that he's ran so far. 6 wins for Mark Whitley coming into this race, 11 top 5s, 11 top 10s, and he has just been strong at every track we go to. He's won on the dirt, he's won at the short tracks, he's won at the mile and a half, he's almost won at the road courses. This 77 just knows how to get to victory lane, and here tonight, it is going to be probably his best recovery run yet, of having that major mistake of the stage that cost him so much track position that we've seen be so crucial. And now, trapped between Malik Kuntz, John Forbes, the 77 forced to go to the outside lane.
See, can he get it done here? He's going to have a good run there off of 2, but just not going to be able to get to the outside of the 98 here. And I think he knows, diving to the inside here, yeah, it's going to be nice here as he goes to that inside finally, but it's just not going to work out like that outside groove has been for passing, and Kuntz is going to be able to hold on to this with that momentum being carried, and especially the draft help from the 11 up ahead of him here. Mark Whitley right now kind of stuck behind these 2. He definitely needs to get around these 2 because right now about 2 seconds back from the leader. So losing time here, the more time he stays behind this group of 2 here, because if we get the pit stops and he's still back here around the 6th position, it's going to be a tough margin to make up to get up there to Ali Fonseca, our leader.
And do have some points updates after the stage on all these drivers are running. Currently, we already know one driver that's going to be running for our championship in the Final 4. That's Trenton Jump after his win last week at Dover. Then, tied for 2nd and 3rd, it's Nick Crawford and Ollie Fonseca. They both have 61 points. Then in 4th, it's moved in as Christopher Norris. Now, this isn't based on their positioning right now. This is based off of those bonus points that were grabbed at the stage. Ethan Smith has fallen down to 5th in points. 6th is going to be that of John Forbes. And Mark Whitley is now the last driver in 7th place in a must-win scenario as Cody Reed called it a night after his incident under green flag pit stops in the middle of the stage being wiped out.
I also got some confirmation, went out there and did a little bit of research to see what happened. And Christopher Norris, I can report, did get 4X from that incident there with him, Ethan Smith, and Nick Crawford. That 4X there could come back to bite him as, Malik Kuntz on the back straightaway back here in front of Mark Whitley. He just had a major moment off a 2 off the screen because, man, he just checked up everything, and that's brought even GT back into the battle for him, and now they're getting closer here off a 4, and multiple drivers here involved in this little squabble, but that made Mark Whitley lose a ton of time here, Sam, and that's huge. And, again, if you get those incident points, like I was bringing up Christopher Norris, that loses 1 valuable bonus point, so drivers can't be getting into the walls, and it looks like that 98 did.
98 did, looking at the front bumper, and looks to be slight splitter damage, just like what we saw for Ethan Smith has happened to Mark Whitley. He's dealing with some front right damage currently. It's not major that you could see physically, but there is a slight little kink that he's dealing with. And Zach, we saw how massive that was for Ethan Smith when it wasn't as visible or clear to see unless you point it out. The 77 is going to try to keep at this pace and this speed, but if we don't get a caution that allows him to get this repaired, he could be in a terrible spot.
It's gone from bad to worse here for him for sure with that damage. That's not what he needs, because right now 3 seconds back now from the leaders. We get a good look at that, and that's not as bad as Ethan Smith's for sure, but it's still very bad, and it's in the worst spot to have it, right on the right front quarter of your front fender. That's where you need the most critical downforce, is right there on that right front tire, and that's going to really hurt that truck from wanting to turn its best through the center of these corners and off. So Whitley, after his woes getting on the pit road and a tough start to stage 1, that little bit of contact there to the back bumper of Kuntz could come back to bite him even worse here, as again, he's in a must-win position here, folks. He needs to go get a win if he wants to fight for a championship, and right now it is looking doom and gloomy for him.
That it is, but let's go back to that conversation you were having about Christopher Norris. The fact that he got a 4X from that wreck. Zach, how much is that going to be hurting this 38? On top of that, points-wise, what's that going to be hurting this 38?
Well, that 1 bonus point that you gain, that is huge, especially when we're talking about margins out here. I mean, going into that stage break, we were talking about a margin about 1 point between him and Ethan Smith in this 38, and about 2 points with John Forbes. But I think with equating out that point that you lose there for him, if John Forbes can, not get that incident point for himself, that pushes him to only 1 point behind, and now he's 1 position behind. So at the moment, these 2 in 3rd and 4th, for that fourth and final position, in my opinion, should be only separated by 2 points now with the way they run. So it's close.
Issues on the backstretch. Danny Cochran as well as Joshua Altus, Tyler Dangler. Hard contact with them into two. Smoking, blown engine. The wreck was on the backstretch and on the inside, off the track. So there was no yellow thrown. All three drivers going to pit road. And the two who missed the grid, qualified third, is now done for the night.
Oh, man, big moment there for sure for Altice as he came off a 2 and lost the rear end, got into Tyler Dingler. And Danny Cochran, you got to feel for him. I mean, it's just been an unfortunate way for his playoffs to continue to go for him because, not getting into the round of 8 after winning a championship, that's a heartbreaker for sure. But it's just been continuous bad luck. And right there it was just, on the apron trying to miss that action, and it sends the 19 down into him, and he's the one that gets the worst damage out of all of it. So Danny Cochran out of this race and got to be fuming a little bit knowing how his season 4 has went so far.
That championship slump really is a thing. After you win a championship, you struggle to find yourself in a victory lane, and the bad luck just seems to swamp as it hits the 2 here tonight and for the whole entire season. Mark Whitley, though, Zach, the tires, the damage, the 77 is in trouble because he is now being passed by not just non-playoff drivers, he's just been passed by Ethan Smith, who's trying to close in, and I'm looking at the 00's times. He's running just as fast and at times faster than third place and fourth place.
He really is. Ethan Smith has done a great job with that damage, and sometimes here on our view, the damage can look a little bit worse than what it is. And I'm thinking maybe that's the situation because when you come down the pit road, you get into your box, folks, you have a dialogue that tells you how much time it would take to, repair your car. We call it optional repairs. And if that number wasn't that big, I think that's why Ethan Smith said elected maybe not to get much of that done. And it does even fix it while you're doing a little bit of the tire changing. So he could have got a little bit of that fixed up. This 00 doing a good job of that, but he's going for a major undercut here. 105, he's coming down to pit road. Let's see, because I felt like pit stops would open up right around this range to 110, and he's done it here at the early point.
But he has to make this early pit stop. The reasoning why is because he's lost so much ground to the drivers ahead of him. Doesn't feel like he wants to give it a chance of if he can have the speed for later on in this run into pit road right when that cycle opens up that you can make it on fuel. The driver's going to go from about 45 to 50 laps on fuel. And now we're seeing what the 00 can bring for us on this stop. 4 tires and fuel, and about to get back out there on track. And the rest of the field, Zach, this now puts them all in question. When do you want to come into pit road? Because if you come into pit road too soon, like we just saw from Ethan Smith, that could be putting yourself in a terrible back foot.
It really could. I mean, if everybody else waits here to go down pit road, Ethan Smith might be in big trouble for sure. I personally feel like that 110 marker might be the perfect point here, about another 5 laps. And I think Trenton Jump, though, in second. He has nothing to lose in the 46 machine. He's coming to pit road this next time by. So a little bit of another early pit stop here for him. And others coming down in some big moments. Irizarry and Ferraro missing the entry to pit road. Both of those drivers may be having black flags here after how this plays out.
And I believe it's going to be the 51 of Ryan Ferraro. He drove off into the grass, then came back onto pit road. He might be given a black flag here. Has not officially been given just yet. And I think he might have scaped away with not given one. Crazy to see for some of these drivers. Early pit stops. Now the question of who comes into pit road. And John Forbes into pit road for the 11.
Forbes here coming down here too, and he's getting in a little hot. I wonder how fast that 11 got in with how loose he was right there. That could have been very, very close, guys, to speed.
It's so close. Zach, it was a 53 miles per hour when he crossed the line. Pit road speed is 50. We'll see if he's going to be given some grace period, but that could be very close for the 11, who could be throwing away his chances. He was so close in the grass to try to point his way in to the final 4. If he gets any type of penalty, this could be terrible, but it looks like he might have scaved away.
It looks like he has done that. You can come in a couple mile an hour over as long as you bring it down under that 50 marker and get it slowed down just that little bit more. You can get in a little bit hot, so it is possible, and that looks like he just did just enough as now Christian Norris comes into his box, and lucky for him, he was deep into the box but did not have to back up. That's exactly what you don't want to see from anybody, is having to back up, because those are crucial seconds that you lose out on the racetrack. But Fonseca electing to do similar way he did in stage 1 here, Sam. Take it longer into the run, and I think this is smart. We saw him drive right through the field before. I think his problem is going to be is that Trenton jump was a much closer than anybody else that pit behind him before, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
It's going to be a lot more difficult, and also the drama is going to mount up because we're right back to where we were before in the middle of stage 1 when we saw drivers that were dealing with old tires, those with new, and the extreme speed difference that we were seeing visibly. Excited to see how these drivers are going to cut their way through. Right now, you see the 11 of John Forks. He's trying to catch up to his teammate of Ethan Smith. And we're seeing other drivers hit pit road, and Ollie Fonseca now into pit road for the 24.
Leader coming down, and it's going to leave Mark Whitley out front to lead himself a lap as he's got Freed right behind him, but it's still going to be to no avail. The points aren't going to matter for this 77. He's going to need a victory, but you can see here, look at Irizarry, Christopher Norris. This is critical for the 38. He needs to get through this quickly, and he's right in the mix as they're almost wrecking.
As the 77 was just trying to hold on, Norris cuts his way to the bottom. They do not make contact anymore after that. But scary moments for these drivers as Logan Brakey also dealing with some internet issues. 39 into pit road right in front of Nick Crawford. And Zach Crawford in the 74, this is when things get interesting for himself because he only has that of a 12-point buffer over the drivers that are outside the cut line. If he finds himself trapped and not able to advance forward once these pit stops go through, this 74 could be in trouble of being knocked out of the playoffs.
He's got to be smart here, Sam. He cannot risk too much, man. This is interesting calls being made by him to stretch it this far, as now he'll finally bring it down the pit road, but yeah, he's losing critical points there, getting this late in here and losing this much track position. Nick Crawford, we'll see how it plays out for him here as he gets the pit road, but I tell you, it's something he doesn't want to play with because that's like playing with fire, man. It can quickly burn you.
Logan Brakey as well as Mark Whitley. Logan blinking in and out because of internet issues. Mark's trying to figure out how to stay behind this driver and not get caught up in any situations, but based on how the 77's running, he might be thinking about pit road this time by, and he is pulling down on the apron, and once again, that transition so terrifying for the 77 as he was pretty quick coming through the line, but he might be given that grace period as Mark Whitley, Zach, he is running aggressive here tonight, recognizing the situation he's in.
He's recognized it for sure, and he's trying everything possible here. He tried to stay out there as long as possible, maybe to catch a caution. It just didn't play out his way. He's going to have the advantage of much fresher tires here now, but he's going to be so far behind that it's not really going to matter. He's going to need some type of help from a yellow flag here at some point, but he doesn't want to happen too quickly. He wants to get back into at least a decent track position-wise to where he can have a shot coming down to the end. Mark Whitley definitely going to be questioning what could have happened if he would have been there last week.
As drivers finishing up their pit stops, Logan Brakey going to go into pit road, and the lead should be given to Trenton Jump in the 46 machine, who pitted 4 laps sooner than Ollie Fonseca. Ollie's going to be all the way back in 7th position, and Zach, the gap 8 seconds. This is going to be critical on the 24 to be efficient on these passes if he wants to get the win after dominating so much. And Ethan Smith, he has to find a way to stay in front of his teammate and Christopher Norris that are on 3 to 4 lap fresher tires than him.
Well, mark it down. When the 00 gets caught by the 38, we might see fireworks fly. I mean, we've heard it already on the radio that he is not happy, and if he gets a chance to retaliate to that 38, he possibly could, seeing the opportunity of him going on next week. The 38 has to have a mistake, but the other problem for him is his teammate that's right behind him, running him down. So that's a tough ordeal for him, but he is so quick on the long run that he might have some pace once these guys get to him to hold him back. But we'll just have to see what happens here, because we know Ethan Smith, he's a tough driver to get around. He's going to make that truck super wide.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us on your Monday night, you're watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. This is the last race of the round of 8 to see who's going to be racing for a championship next week and make the final 4. 8 drivers entered and only 4 will exit. Already 1 driver is done, and Cody Reed, who was having a fantastic season but caught up in issues back at the first 40 laps of this race. But right now, we're looking at the drivers. This could be for who takes that final spot in the final 4. It's the teammates, Ethan Smith, John Forbes. It's a 3-lap difference. The 00 needs to hold back the 11, but this is when things get tricky because you got 3 drivers all for position as the 00 goes high.
Here he comes, the 00 up high, trying to get around Eric Stamp, but he's got Forbes there on the inside. This is going to be somewhat of a pick here, and where can the 00 go? He's just going to get stuck behind the 53.
And the 53 cuts it down low, going to be trying to defend that John Forbes as well as Ethan Smith. He hits the brakes right in the center of the corner, and Ethan Smith makes the move. John Forbes almost wrecks Eric Stamp. He goes almost into the grass. They hold on.
Wild moments there, and that's helped this 00 hold on to position, and man, oh man, it's going to only fire up that 11, I think, that much more, and it also helps Christopher Norris, who needs the gain on the 11.
Trying to close in, Ollie Fonseca. Last time we talked about it, 8 seconds back now, down to less than 6 is the 24 to Trent Jump, who's on the freshest tires and trying to get by Eric Stamp with the teammates side by side. John Forbes taking the pass, and that could be the pass to fight for a championship next week. Not fully clear, but takes the lap ahead. 30 laps to go here in Atlanta as John Forbes trying to go for the dive bomb move. He'll be clear, moving up just slightly, trying to block his teammate, and Zach Forbes now ahead and where he needs to be.
That's what he needs. He needs to see clear track ahead of him because he needs to drive away from Christopher Norris. He needs to hold on to that because if Christopher Norris finishes right behind him, to my calculations, they should be tied unless John Forbes has had some type of incident that has hurt him in this race. Then I would see Christopher Norris at some point being 1 point ahead if he finishes behind. So it could come down to that third and final position in the top 3 of who gets it done. And the problem for them also is here comes Ollie Fonseca. He's flying up through, and he's got them fresh tires as he's going to try to blow by these guys. And, you know, I don't think you fight the 24 too hard. He's not the driver you got to worry about because if you fight him too hard, you just slow yourself up for the rest of the drivers.
As Ethan Smith just going to give space to the 24 as those two have their bickers in the middle of the regular season. Their alliance teams, not on the same official teams as the 00 and the 11 on Blackjack Racing. Ollie Fonseca in the 24, a part of Larson Line Racing. But they are all trying to figure out how to hold back this 38. I mean, Zach, Christopher Norris, storylines galore. At some points, we've covered this 38 here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the last couple of years. And when he first was on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, he was known as a hazard, a driver that almost you could count on to bring out 1 to 2 yellows. And now, fighting with a driver that they had bickers earlier on the race, this could be an opportunity to race for a championship. Ethan Smith trying to block to the inside. It's going to be the 38 machine, and down side by side on the apron, trying to hold on. They're going to be drifting up, and Norris taking the position.
What a pass, and that's how you got to get it done. The driver that wants to hold you up the most, you got to get it done in one corner, and he does it, Sam. That is so critical for him because now he needs to focus forward. He has to drive down that 11 if he wants to make sure he can maximize his points and make sure he moves on into the final 4. This is going to be a nail-biting final 25 laps. This 38, I mean, again, like you said, Sam, he is, I mean, just the transformation he has made over the course of 4 seasons here at ISRC has been one of the, I think, the most amazing storylines to follow. And it seems like these playoffs, it's all just came together for him. He's just seemed to hit a new form. And this 38, he's become a factor when it comes down to the end of these races. And right now, in the top 4 with a chance to go fight for a championship possibly next week, he just needs to go get that driver up ahead of him to for sure.
Christopher Norris trying to make to his first Final 4 attempt, and the 24 of Ollie Fonseca trying to be the other driver to make his first Final 4. Ollie Fonseca, Christopher Norris both tied on who was going to make it to the round at 12. Ollie wasn't able to do so. Norris moved forward, and after being eliminated, Ollie Fonseca last season put on the biggest show. It was probably the biggest threat of non-playoff drivers to steal wins, steal points. And now this season, he's made it to the Elite 8, a chance to run for a championship, and one of the best runs we've seen almost all season long. The 24 wants to get his second ever win in the ISRC Truck Series.
You know he wants it so bad, Sam. He is craving that second win. I mean, he talks about it all the time when he comes and talks to us in the booth about how, you know, he won that Dover race, but he wants another one to put on that mantle, so to say. And, you know, a huge momentum this would be for him to win it. But you got Trenton Jump up front, who is 3/10 slower right now with those older tires, with about a 3-second gap on him. You know, he wants to carry the momentum too. He wants to have 2 in a row wins heading into that final race at Charlotte, and then go make it 3 in a row to win the championship. That would put a storybook ending to his season for a second championship. So you know he's going to make it tough. It's just going to be the question, can this 24 get there in time? And it's going to be very, very much so on the line here, with less than 3 seconds now separating the top 2.
I mean, in 15 laps, Ali Fonseca has cut down the gap by over 5.5 seconds. He's now less than 3 seconds off, and here's what the differential has looked like. It has been a constant gain, and it continues to look that way as Ali comes across the line, giving us the update. I mean, it is massive, gain after gain, just 0.2 here, there, and if it continues at this rate, we'll be right on the back bumper with about 3 laps to go. But the question then looms, when and where will all these tires finally plateau compared to that Trenton Jumps?
You're completely right, Sam. That's the worry he's got to have, because, yeah, you can gain 2 to 3 tenths right now on somebody, but those tires will start to hit a phase where Trenton Jump's going on the same lap time over and over again, and then Fonseca's slowly going to get to that gap, and when he catches him too, if he does, that dirty air is going to be terrible. I mean, Fonseca's had the clean air all night. He's going to get to experience it on somewhat similar pace tires. This is going to be very, very close, and I personally, I think it's going to be tough. I mean, it's just going to be a tough thing to overcome if you're Fonseca here. As we've seen so far, being out front has been the best place to be.
It certainly has been, as drivers throughout the field, as our leader tries to hold on. The gap can be a little bit over 2.5 seconds for Trenton Jump. 20 laps to go. Still plenty of racing in action to be thrown around. Other battles we got to watch out for is the John Forbes and Christopher Norris. That's a 1.5 second gap. And John Forbes currently right now, he's still within a little bit over a 0.5 second Ali Fonseca. He's still in reaching distance if Ali overexerts himself and uses these tires too much.
That he is, Sam, and you know, this right here gets critical for him, because right now, matching pretty much lap times to Christopher Norris behind him. That time by there lost a good little chunk of time, but has been matching Christopher Norris here, and that's the critical position for him, because again, if he has no incidences, in my mind, I think this 11 is going to be the man that moves on, because at that point they'd be a tie, and I would believe it would go to best finish for the tie, and this 3rd place finish, I believe, would be the best in this round for either of those two. So Forbes here, with his chance of a Final Four on the line, he knows who he's got to beat, and it's the driver right behind him.
But if we're going to see a caution, and Zach, we know that it's always a potential. It might be happening back in 9th place as Nick Crawford able to get by Joshua Freed and Mark Morales. Mark Morales just had a scare at a turn number 4. But Joshua Freed and Nick Crawford have been battling side by side. Freed has been trying his best to get by the 74, who has been just trying to hold on. The tires have not been clean. As Nick Crawford, yes, he is running in a good spot, but if the 74 falls to that of 16th, 17th position, he is in trouble of being bounced out.
He really is. You know, he can't take too big of a risk here. He needs to, you know, try to go forward and gain points, so if a caution was to come out, he had better track position, but he can't take too major risk, especially around drivers like Joshua Freed, who has nothing to lose, and even Mark Whitley, who needs a win. You know, Mark Whitley's going to be going as hard as he possibly can. These drivers right here around him are willing to risk it all and wreck out of this race to try to better themselves, and that's a tough predicament to be in if you're Nick Crawford, just knowing that you need to survive and make it to the end without losing too much ground. It's always a predicament where if you're that driver doing that, you can sometimes put yourself in a worse position by just being that much more safe in your driving style.
As these drivers continue to just wait and see how this race is going to develop, a lot of aggression has been shown in the early portions of this race, and as you've seen all of the pieces kind of fall where they are, Trenton Jump still in a great spot. He's holding off Ali Fonseca. Ali now a little bit over 1.5 seconds the difference. As we've got 15 laps to go left here at Legacy Atlanta 150. The drivers that entered this race as your top 4 in a race for the championship next week look to not be the same for, I think 3 of the 4 might be the same. Ethan Smith in trouble as he has fallen now to 6th place, and the 2 drivers that are battling to take his spot in 3rd and 4th position. John Forbes, Christopher Norris. John Forbes, Zach, I'm looking at the times. Last lap, all identical times for John Forbes and Christopher Norris. And this upcoming lap, it looks to be Norris just slightly faster.
Yeah, just a little bit quicker for Christopher Norris, but it's not enough. He needs more. He needs to gain more time, and he needs to hope that Forbes has some type of an issue. And the worst thing for Christopher Norris, right here on the exit, he's getting passed by Cody Smith, and this is not what you want to see if you're Christopher Norris. You're going to lose a good boatload of time there getting passed by that lap car on the outside where you can't carry as much momentum off the corner. That was a tough break for Christopher Norris to get caught by the lap car right there.
Didn't lose too much time, but didn't gain, which is the bigger issue for the 38 machine. As the laps continue to tick away here, side by side, battling for 8th place, Joshua Freed, Eric Stamp, who won this race back in season 2, trying to get himself another great top 10 finish for the 53 machine. As Joshua Freed, he has had a very quiet night, but the driver that decided to stay out for fresh tires, having a great surge through this field, and kind of showing that if you're able to stay out and keep good track position, those fresh tires crucial on some great finishes at the end of the day.
They really are, and Freed's been having some good runs here at the end of the season, so that's good for him. I mean, you know, we've seen so far carrying momentum like that at the end of the season can be a big helper, and it could very well come back to help Freed heading into season number 5. So good job by him to break here into this top 8 and continue a good trend of good runs for that 39 machine. But I will say that 7 machine, Cody Smith, he just passed John Forbes for the around him to go around him for that, you know, unlap himself to him, and that allowed Christopher Norris to gain a couple tenths, but again, just not enough time, I think, for that 38. He's going to need that number 11 machine to have some type of catastrophic failure. And you know what I look at is also, you know, he had the contact between him and Eric Stamp there off of 4. Did that have any type of an incident point? I don't believe so, because it wasn't that hard of contact between those two. It was just a slight bump, usually most likely coming out to a 0x. But that one incident, or that one bonus point for having 0 incidents, could be the difference here, Sam.
We're going to see a wreck now. I'm looking through the field. Mark Whitley could be that driver. His tires are so warm. He is drifting on the entries of these corners. The 77 does not look comfortable as he is about to spin it around on the exit of 4. I've got to say, Zach, if anyone is screaming for no yellow, it's Trenton Jump, who has seen so many times that he's leading a race and then a late caution comes out that changes everything. But if you're John Forbes, Christopher Norris, Ethan Smith, some of these drivers at that cutoff line, you might be thinking about wanting a yellow as you see the 77 is just out of control, yet doesn't want to come into pit road because he's still on the lead lap.
Still in that lead lap, and if something happens, you know, caution comes out, he's still got a shot, so to say. But yeah, he's out of control. A good way to put it, Sam. I mean, he's just so loose. I mean, off of 4 once again, almost wrecking. You know, for him, this has got to be an upsetting night because of just how dominant the performance has been throughout the season. And just to come here to Atlanta and kind of be thrown off by this track. This track is so tough, and look at it again.
Yeah, it just continues. It's incredible to watch, Zach, but it is terrifying to watch. 8 laps to go. There's no way he is going to keep this thing together for 8 more laps. There's going to be a caution at some point. The question is when, as a lot of these drivers, if you're Trenton Jump, you're probably hoping, please, as soon as possible, so that I can at least get tires. I don't have to worry about the stress of overtime.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, if it's going to happen, it needs to happen sooner, because then you have, you know, the options that you weigh there for what you want to do on those pit stops that could change the whole complexion of this race. But yeah, I don't see how he holds on to it, Sam. You see right there again, I mean, just completely sideways. At this point, he's almost a track hazard. He is 2 seconds off the pace.
Oh, he is a hazard at this point. Again, the only reason why the 77 has not come into pit road is because he has not gone a lap down. He is going to continue to race this one out as he's going to get into the outside wall, or might even take someone with him, which would be terrible to see as Joshua Kanata tries to get on by 16, who's the second car 1 lap down. He's trying to catch up to Ryan Ferraro, but 7 laps to go. This is getting very much out of control as he drifts it again through the corner.
I just don't see how this can last, because every time he slides those tires, it heats him up worse, and that condition of the driving of the car gets worse and worse. And you know, just not going to be able to hold on to it. I think
There
at
he
some
is.
point now going to hit the apron. Oh man, Sam, this is interesting.
And the thing is if he continues to fall back deeper and deeper in the field, our leader's going to catch up to him. Our leader just came out of turn 4 now, as he is in the center of 1 and 2, 6 laps to go. And with how big of a loss Mark Whitley is having each and every lap, we're going to be seeing our leader right on him. And there's a potential chance of this being way too hazardous, as drivers are currently still trying to finish out this race. The battle for the lead could be over. The battle for third, though, of who can take that final 4 spot, still on the line. Christopher Norris is almost within a half a second with 5 laps to go.
He has been closing it down, Sam. Every single lap I see him getting that much closer. He's going to start to get the air now. That's what's going to make this tough. The more close he gets that dirty air in the corners, but he does get the benefit of a good draft down the straightaways. It's a half a second, 4 laps to go. Christopher Norris knows he might need this position. It's going to be all on the line here for him because, again, like you said, the lead, I think that battle's over. Ali Fonseca has tore the tires up, trying to run down Trenton Jump with the longer strategy. It's all about this third position now from here on out.
Fastest car on the track. Give it to the 38 of Christopher Norris. That last time by, he is closing it in every little bit. Recognizing, Zach, you've already thrown it out. They are technically tied on points if the right bonus points are given to the 11 machine. If Christopher Norris just makes this pass, he is in a spot to run for a championship next week. If he doesn't make the pass, the 11's running for a championship, unless we see a yellow. And here we go. They're right on top of one another.
He looks so much quicker right now. He got a little tight there in 1 and 2, getting close to the back bumper of the 11. But he looks a lot quicker and a lot more stable. This 11 looks so sideways coming off the corners. If he can get close to him, that packs the air on the rear end. That makes it that much tougher to exit off the corner. Christopher Norris here within a shot to go into the final 4. What will he be willing to risk here, Sam? It's all on the line now for 2 laps.
Well, he's already made some rivals with the team of Blackjack Racing, but all the times of last season being bounced around. Will Norris fight back? As here we go for third place. Christopher Norris right on the back bumper, trying to figure out where to place himself. The outside lane seems to be the positioning, but continues every spot that he chooses. He's picking wrong on where John Forbes is going, and across the line, it is your Larry Art Productions white flag for Trenton Jump, but Christopher Norris bounces it to the outside. He's got 1 lap, 1 chance to run for a championship.
This is his best opportunity down into 1 and 2, Sam. He's going to have the best positioning here off the exit of the corner, but Forbes is going to slide up into him and wreck him.
He's going to put him right in the outside wall. They're going to be still staying side by side. There's a wreck right in front of them, though, when they enter turn 4. Driver going to be stacked right in front of them. Can't see on screen. John Forbes going to be making the pass. It's Mark Whitley who caused the accident. Out of turn number 4, Trenton Jump will win. A back-to-back win. John Forbes, Christopher Norris, boom, spin, he wrecks him. Norris takes the win for himself for that 3rd place. Christopher Norris is running for a championship.
Whoa. That right there is all on the line, folks. That was great hard racing between those two. Forbes messes up, gets into him, almost spins him. Norris gives him the bumper off of 4. That's all fair game to me there, folks. And that was grade A finish to Atlanta and what you need to see.
Trenton Jump gets the official win. He goes back-to-back, setting up for next week to try to become the first driver for 2 championships. But we have 2 new drivers that have never raced for a Final 4. Gonna be fighting for it. We're gonna wait for the official calling, but we believe that based off the points, Christopher Norris, John Forbes, that was the pass for Christopher Norris to go run for a championship.
I mean, I'm speechless right now, Sam. That that took my breath away, man. There with how nervous I was for the kid, and he pulls it off. That is amazing driving. But I mean, Trenton Jump, you got to think about him right now having the momentum of a lifetime here, heading into possible shot to get his 2nd championship. We got a great Final 4.
Oh, it is going to be a fun Final 4 to watch as Trenton Jump gets to burn it down with Armadillo Racing with them at tow. What a run, what a race. And as we step away, when we come back, it's the post-race show. We're going to be talking to our top 3 and whoever else made it to the Final 4. We'll be back in just a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. Playoff implications at the end. Hard aggressive racing was thrown around on who was going to make the final four. 3 spots looked pretty solidified. Trenton Jump winning last week and winning here tonight. Nick Crawford, Ollie Fonseca looked good on points, but who was taking the 4th? We wait for official confirmation, but we believe it is Christopher Norris. Again, we'll wait for confirmation, but before we get the numbers in correctly, let's talk to some of the drivers to victory lane. Let's head over to Trenton Jump in the 46. Tren, I mean, you watched Ollie for most of this race. You come away with the win at the end of the day, though. Man, how are you feeling after that one?
I'm sweaty, I'm shaking. I don't know. I guess it's a good time to get hot, right? Man, what a race. Yeah, it was a long night just trying to not get caught up in anybody else's crap and right behind Ollie and just wait to pounce. You just cannot pass. This was the weirdest I've ever had old Atlanta race. It was so tight you couldn't pass, and if you could pass, you burned 5 laps off of your tires. So I sat and watched, and I rode behind him and tried to keep my nose in clean air for as long as I could. And I pitted, had auto fuel turned on, so it gave me a little bit less fuel. I had to save 4 laps of fuel in that run, and I ended up doing the same thing last week too. So I gotta go in the files and see how to turn that crap off, because it's gonna cost me a race at the wrong time.
Yeah, I know how that is, man. That is not fun to have that checked on there for sure, Trenton. But you get it done, man. I mean, you know, out there out front, saving fuel, like you said, do you feel like that maybe even helped save the tires just a little bit, possibly? Because you definitely had the pace there at the end just to hold them back and start to pull away at the end.
Yeah, I think just most of the run after I pit the last time, I had a lot of clean air. So like the first 10 laps, I didn't realize I was short on fuel. So I was just running hard, and like I said just now, the clean air I think really helped. It was the first time all night I had clean air on fresh tires. So it was good to finally experience that and finally get to take advantage of it. I was watching Ollie catch and catch and catch and catch, and I was just wondering when he was going to hit that threshold of dirty air and when it was going to slow down. And it turned out to be about just under a second and a half was that threshold. So, and I was the last 6 laps. Every time I was going down to 3, I was shutting it off and coasting it until I had to pop the clutch back out. I was just doing whatever I can to make it. I'm already in the final 4, but I didn't want to lose this one.
I mean, talking about the Final Four, Trent, we're still waiting for official confirmation on it, but we do believe that the Final Four is yourself, Nick Crawford, Ollie Fonseca, and Christopher Norris. We're going to Charlotte next week. I mean, what are your spirits like going into that race next week?
I mean, not bad for a road racer, right? No, yeah, I'm excited. I think I got the same chance that I've had the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm pumped. This is completely unexpected. I didn't run a lap all week. Just was like coming in tonight, not caring, just racing the crap out of everybody. Not trying to get in any wrecks, not hit anybody, and it paid off, I guess.
That it certainly did. Well, Trent, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shoutouts.
Yeah, just want to thank the admins, Martin, Tyler, and Morris, you guys at Freaky Fast for broadcasting this deal. I love going back to watch races on weeks like this. I want to thank my teammates and owner at Armadillo Motorsports, Logan, Noah, Eric, and TJ. And I want to thank my painter, Justin, at Color Teal Graphics for your paintless, beautiful truck that we got to park in Victory Lane again.
That is going to be the 46 machine from Armadillo Racing. It's going to be Trent Jump getting it done here tonight, and he will be running for a championship next week. Congratulations, Trenton, and good luck next week.
See you boys next week.
As we go from victory lane, let's go to second place to the driver that dominated for most of the night, but the strategy just didn't work out at the end. Ollie, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. Well, we got to talk you at the stage. You won the stage. You come away second. That's some pretty good momentum. On top of that, you are running for a championship next week. Man, how are you feeling?
I'm elated, man. I cannot believe that I'm in the Final Four. That is honestly a dream come true. I can't believe it. All the practice, all the work that went into this, all the people that have supported me to get me this far. It's unbelievable, and I just can't wait to contend and try to get another one for Larson Line here. Just can't thank Dakota and Danny enough for the opportunity to run for them. And yeah, I know we came up a little short. I mean, I don't really think we made any mistakes tonight. I mean, we did what we had to do. And based off the numerous tire tests I ran, I really thought I came in at the right time. And I think I just got beat on speed. I mean, he's just faster than me. when Trenton was behind me there. He really wasn't letting me pull away, and he was in dirty air. I was constantly trying to move up into his lane and give him as much dirty air as I could, and he was hanging right with me. So I got beat. But at least we're in the final four, and that's definitely something to celebrate about. So I'm stoked.
Well, Ollie, I mean, I look back to last season, man. You didn't, have the greatest time there during the playoffs there, and you had a great ending to it after you got knocked out. Do you look back to like moments like that now and say, man, that's kind of what propelled me to here? Because it just seems like from that point on, this season you've been just on it, and it seems like it's getting better and better. And I can only expect more for you heading into next week.
Yeah, certainly, and I'll go ahead and throw it back to my teammate Danny. That's just one of those things where he would say, that's character building, man. That's how you get better. You're gonna lose a bunch before you start winning, and I know the wins are coming soon. I'm not down on myself about it. I know I'll get the job done sooner or later, but now I get to focus on trying to win this championship that me and Brandon and my teammates and some other drivers out there have worked really hard to help me get to. So I'm just really really happy that I get to do this for them.
Well, Ollie, again, congratulations. You have made it officially. The numbers are coming in. You are in to run for a championship next week. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to shout out my grandparents, my parents, all the friends watching the stream. Thank you guys so much. I can't believe I get to race for a championship. This is just like I said before, a dream come true. I can't believe it. I'm going to be practicing as much as I can, and I'm going to try to bring home a trophy for all those guys. I got to thank Dakota, Danny, Tyler, the guys at Larson Line for giving me this opportunity to run up front with them. Ever since I joined them, I've been so much better, and it's all thanks to them. Got to thank Brandon, of course. He's on the ball every single night, does everything I need him to do and more. So I always appreciate him. He's the best spotter crew chief on the service. Anyone that wants to say otherwise, well, I really don't care what they have to say. And just you guys for putting this on, and Cody Reed too. I want to mention him. He ran numerous laps with me throughout the week, and I know the race didn't pan out for him like it should have, but I definitely wouldn't have been sitting as well as I was if it wasn't for him practicing with me as much as he did. So I really appreciate him, and yeah, I'm just thrilled. I'm ready to get after it. We'll see what happens.
That is going to be the 24 machine of Ollie Fonseca. Congratulations on second place, and good luck next week battling for that championship.
Thank you.
Well, if we go from second place to third place, where the most drama was mounting up, and it was all around who was getting in, out. Was it going to be John Forbes or Christopher Norris? Well, it all came down to that last corner where Norris and Forbes got to one another. Christopher, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You come away third, and the points are in. You are officially running for a championship next week. Man, how are you feeling after that run at the end?
It's static, man. Atlanta was, besides the super speedway format, it's not my best track. I mean, it's just the normal mile and a half, and just one of the tracks I've not been very good at. I mean, I believe coming into this race in this series, I haven't finished higher than 15th here. So, I mean, it's just amazing to see what I was able to do at this track and come away third.
It really was, buddy. I tell you what, it was a great drive, and it came with a little bit of controversy for sure. I mean, I know none of the contact was probably meaningful out there between you and the other guys, but how hard is it to keep your head in the game when you got people that are frustrated at you and thinking maybe they could possibly end your night?
Yeah, man. I apologize to Ethan over the sim radio, and I also apologized, profusely to Ethan as well throughout the run, and Nick just for what I accidentally did. I think it was my fault. It's just one of those incidents where two people going for the same spot, and I accidentally got into the back of Ethan. I don't believe I had any damage on my behalf, so it might have been just a little bit of air off my nose. But yeah, man, I was afraid of him possibly coming down into me. I don't think he would. He definitely did try to hold me off a little bit, but it's not like he was going to wreck me for the incident.
I mean, what a crazy run, Norris. We were talking about at the end, the opportunity of you running for a championship after your history of where you started back in season 1 to now. Did you even see yourself with the chance to run for a championship with the way that it's come down to this race, and how are you feeling going into next week?
Honestly, I was just gonna settle for the top 8. I wanted to do what I can, put on a great show, and try to, just make my way up the field. I mean, the start of that race gave me a little bit of anxiety, thinking I possibly could not be able to do it. I mean, I just was right around 9th or 10th, but I think it's just a thing of bunning my stuff up too early. But for Charlotte, I'm glad we're heading to a mile and a half where I've shown to be a top 10 driver there in the past. So I'm really hoping that means I'll be a first place winner then next week.
Well, Norris, congratulations again on making the Final Four. Before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Thank you. And first things first, I'm going to give a huge shout-out to Zach Hall and Brandon Colley, just for all the help they have. Zach has been teaching me throughout the races past few weeks. And then Colley, he's been there teaching me as well, but also been in the bots, just helping me out and tell me what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Also, you guys, of course, for the great show. As always, Lids, and of course my family for letting me do this and not complaining when I yell and scream.
That is going to be Christopher Norris, a 38 machine. He will be running for a championship next week, part of the Final Four. Congratulations, Chris, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
As we go from 3rd place, we're going to go to our last driver that has made it to the Final Four. 10th place finisher, Nick Crawford, to get his thoughts as he comes away, pointing his way in. Nick, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Well, you've done it. You've made it to the Final Four after tonight's race, but it wasn't the finish you wanted. Nick, how are you feeling after a 10th place performance?
Oh, Sam, I am struggling so bad right now. That race was so long, and I'm not really feeling too great physically right now. Even before, I got Pedialyte right next to me, but to bring this champion Ford F-150 to the playoffs is great. I'm just glad it all worked out. That win really came in effect there with those 5 points.
That it really did, Nick. I tell you what, man, I know how it is to drive when you're not feeling the best, and it's tough to do. But is there anything you can take out of tonight here to carry into Charlotte, because you're fighting for a championship, my friend?
I'm hoping it doesn't drive the same way. I know Charlotte's a little bit different, a little bit less tire wear, but I'm just gotta practice. I think it's gonna be more right front dependent than tonight, but just getting that practice in and just keeping cool and hopefully just not feeling under the weather at all on a Monday. For some reason, it's always Monday.
I mean, Nick, last season you had to run with your teammate of Cedric Hunter and yourself for the championship. It didn't go the way that you wanted. You have now Christopher Norris, a teammate with you, going into this championship run. How does that make you feel, seeing the development of Norris and yourself to get back to this position? You got to try to go for a championship once again.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see Norris get into the Final Four. I know last season he beat himself up so much, even though it was instances that were out of his control for most of them. But it's so awesome to see him. We got the whole team, kind of, I guess. Cedric left about halfway through the season, but we got the whole team in the Final Four. So hopefully we can figure something out at Charlotte. Honestly, if he were to take it all, I would be just as happy as if I were to win it all too. But at least we got a chance.
That you do. Well, Nick, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yep, as always, I got to shout out my beautiful wife. She's amazing. She's been taking care of me today, making sure I'm hydrated, fed. I couldn't ask for anything more than that. I want to thank you guys for broadcasting. I'm going to go back and watch myself suffer through this race, but it'll be good because you guys are great. And then shout out to Revline, Joshua Kanata. He's going to be with us next season. It's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of fun.
That is going to be Nick Crawford. Again, finishes in 10th, not where he wanted to be, but has at least made it to the Final Four. Will be running for the championship next week at Charlotte. Congratulations, Nick, and good luck next week.
Thank you, guys.
Well, from interviews to where the drivers finished here this evening, I know the chat has gotten fiery on who they feel like should have moved on, some of the moves that have been made. But Zach, I mean, Atlanta 2008, what a track that gave us an entertaining final race before the Final Four.
I tell you, man, I love this racetrack. It is, with the fall off you had, the tire wear, all those conditions playing into it, it really adds to the race. And to make the Final Four, I think this is the perfect race. And then to go to Charlotte next week, it's going to be just as good at that track where it's a little bit more cut and dry. So we'll get to see how it plays out that Final Four. But, I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better Atlanta race. This was all over the place when it came to even strategy.
It was wild, it was crazy, and let's see where the drivers unofficially finished here this evening. Trent Jump coming away with his 4th win of the season, 2nd most out of anyone else, as his top competitor, Mark Whitley, no longer will be running for a championship, but he will have to be dealing with 2nd and 3rd place finishers of Ali Fonseca and Christopher Norris. 4th goes to John Forbes, who sadly will not be running for the championship. 5th place, JT Irizarry. Malik Kuntz, another strong run for the 98. Love to see that turn around. Joshua Freed with a great finish for the 7. Ethan Smith will not be running for a championship. He'll finish in 8th. 9th, Logan Brakey. And our final driver running in the Final Four next week, Nick Crawford in 10th.
What a Final Four it'll be, man. It's going to be fun to see how that plays out at Charlotte, but definitely some interesting nights for drivers all around. I think Mark Whitley is going to come out here saying what could have been if he didn't miss last week. It put him in a must-win scenario and just didn't have the truck tonight. He just seemed like he could never keep the rear end underneath him. I mean, I think we watched him there for 5 laps straight. Look to bring a yellow out by drifting around this whole surface. So, tough for him, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes, man. And we head to Charlotte next week with 4 competitive drivers ready to go duke it out and see if they can win a championship and add their name to that illustrious list. And I mean, even Trenton Jump, could he be the first 2-time champion? I think that's going to be one of the big storylines heading into it. And then of the other 3, do we see a first-time champion? I tell you, it's wide open when it comes down to that, and I cannot wait to see how that all shakes out for next week's race.
Well, we started the season off. We had 43 drivers at some point race this season. We cut it down to 16 for the playoffs. Then we carved it to 12 to 8, and now we have our Final Four that we're running for a championship. Can't wait to get the coverage next week at Charlotte to see who's going to get the championship for themselves for Season 4. Will Trenton Jump get his 2nd ever championship of the ISRC Truck Series, or will we see a first-time champion? We'll have to find out before next week happens. We got plenty of other great racing action throughout the week. Starting things off with tomorrow night, the Full Send Racing Series. They take their trucks to the Indianapolis Road Course. Wednesday, championship race. Get the championship fever out. It's the Wicked Racing League heading to Kansas for their championship adventure. Then Thursday night, Stars and Stripes and the ARCA Cars heading to Kentucky for more playoff racing. Saturday, WSSR in the middle of their playoffs for the Chase. They go short track racing at New Hampshire. And we're right back here Monday night. Zach, plenty of great racing throughout the week.
It really is, Sam. I tell you, this is what playoffs bring out, man. There's people upset, there's people elated, people excited. I mean, you get all these emotions coming out, and it's because everything is on the line now. It's crunch time, as they would say. And drivers that didn't have good nights and had stuff happen to them that they felt was wrong are going to feel wrong heading into next week. And then it just builds those emotions. And I think emotions, when they get involved in racing, it makes the racing that much crazier. So it definitely makes our jobs up here a lot more wild and a little bit funner to follow along. But I tell you what, as we head into these final couple races with all these leagues, it's just going to be super fun to crown some champions and maybe some first-time ones out there that have never got to experience that.
It is going to be a fun one next week. Charlotte, our next destination, the final one of Season 4. It has been, at some times, maybe not as chaotic as past seasons, but tonight certainly brought back to why the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series is one of our favorites to cover. The drama, the thrill, and the unknown, as we are excited for it. Next week, Championship Racing, Trent Jump, Nick Crawford, Ollie Fonseca, and Christopher Norris. Your final 4 that are racing for the championship next week. Can't wait to give you the coverage. But until then, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we'll see you tomorrow night, our next Freaky Fast broadcast. We'll see you then.